Hello, folks. So cool to see Eric's got to be in the chat. Thanks, Eric. Hello. Very nice to have him here since he has worked on a lot of products that I love. In addition to being just an all-around cool guy to hang out with, super awesome novels. He worked on the whole 4th edition Neverwinter product and some of the Shadowfell stuff. So that is super cool. Thanks for being here, Eric. Today, I'm barely cool. I just try to tell the kids I am. Hey. So what we're going to talk about today is a place called Evernight. So this stream has been focused on the lore of Neverwinter and how the Neverwinter MMO expresses the lore of D&D. And they periodically delve into a place called Evernight, which is sort of the reverse of Neverwinter itself. It is the Shadowfell version or dark negative version of Neverwinter, which is saying something because Neverwinter itself is a place that's got a lot of trouble, a lot of danger and darkness to it, and it's trying to escape that. But this is a whole another thing when we go to Evernight. So let's talk a little bit about Evernight here and what they did with the products. So the idea of having the Shadowfell is something that's pretty old. It goes back to some of the early views of the different planes and how we had a negative plane of negative energy. And then it gets into somewhere around 3rd edition where we start having the idea of really the Shadowfell as a name. We have this product that came out that Eric worked on. Oh, it's DM Jazzy Hands is in the chat. How's it going? Love your Neverwinter stream. It's so much fun to watch you zip around Neverwinter. Check out his stream. So in the Shadowfell product, we really give it a good treatment of what it's like to be in this negative version of the Forgotten Realms, or whichever campaign world you want to use and apply the Shadowfell to. And it's a little different than the Feywild. The Feywild often has sort of its own areas that are different. The Shadowfell tends to be really a mirror image of our world, but turned dark and terrible. So this product had a lot there. And a good example of that is if we go to the Neverwinter campaign setting itself. This awesome book, man, I can't believe what it was like to work on this, Eric. Really cool. So we have the Neverwinter map. If we look at this, this is the area of Neverwinter. Super neat. Well, if we look at Evernight on top of it, then we can see how different the two areas are. Evernight has the river of lava flowing from Mount Hotnow that happened during the Spellplague. That happens, except the whole place is constantly at night. So you have this brilliant, crazy, burning lava thing going through the center of the town. And the rest of the land, it's maybe not appreciated by this kind of the map and the tone it has, but it's all really this dark, kind of moody place like you see in this image. And the art in the 4E Gloomrot products and in the Neverwinter section for Evernight really shows you all of that. So we're going to take a look at that in our game. I'm going to use my rogue to go into Neverdeath Graveyard, which is itself an awesome place. And DM Jazzy Hands in one of his streams, at least one of them that I watched, was talking about this place. It's a pretty neat area. So we are still in the normal Forgotten Realms material plane, but we are in the Neverdeath Graveyard. And if we look at the map, you can kind of see where this takes place. So here's the city of Neverwinter. This little lens we're looking at to magnify this little dot on the map. And there are all these different zones of the city, and one of them is the graveyard itself. So we're in kind of a neighborhood, if you will. And this is an actual place that's in the 4th edition book and discussed. And it used to be this very large graveyard in the city that was a lot prettier, as you might set up a graveyard to be. But here it is completely fallen into ruin. So this is a place that's been through upheaval, and the ruin came through the Spellplague, right, which destroyed this area and lifted up parts of the land, caused others to sink. And there's some really awesome quests that you can take through this whole area to do. Well, you can fight some dragons. That's kind of neat. We'll talk about that in a different stream. But there are all kinds of different mausoleums you can go around. It's a really quite large area, and it has some of my favorite quests that involve the clockmakers of Waterdeep and how their guild in Neverwinter caused the how they have a whole series of buildings that are in this area, or tombs, I guess, tombs in this graveyard that are powered by their water clocks, and that's a really neat aspect of it. So you can see super cool imaginative terrain, perfect kind of thing to use in one of your adventures of having this ground that's been through some massive upheaval, and it could be the Spellplague, or it could be something else that's happened, some kind of cataclysmic thing. Any of those 5e books that have big apocalypse pieces, you know, these are the kind of things you can do with your game. And they've built, you know, temporary bridges to cross over this chasm that showed up that's full of Spellplague energy. It's called the Rift here. And when you go through this area, you do a bunch of quests that involve all of this scarred land. But we're going to go towards this area that links to the Shadowfell. As you might imagine, there's a lot of undead here, so doing something involving the Shadowfell is very fitting. I'm fairly high level, so these guys are going to ignore me, and we're going to go to this Shadowfell Rift. And as we're talking, you know, feel free to hit me up with any questions or comments about this place. Someone had asked in the chat early on about the Evernight and this negative version of Neverwinter, and so that's why I thought I would cover this today. I appreciate everyone's comments. That's cool. Eric's saying he mostly wrote the Daylight Neverwinter stuff, which is cool. I love that bug. Thanks for all the work you did on that, because that is what a neat, one of my favorite campaign settings in all of really any edition, but certainly in 4th edition. It's right there with the Dark Sun book. It's just being a great piece of work. So we're going to load our Evernight area. It has a nice little intro sequence. You see the place is just dripping with flavor. Really very cool. They do a really nice job of how they map this area out. I am overwhelmed with a sense of hopelessness and loss. Yes, but tell me about this game. I'm kidding. I'm a positive person. So in this quest, I'm actually doing a series of quests that are related to Zarafrax's phylactery. I actually have a Lich's phylactery on me, and a cool idea. Here's something you can steal for your game. So I've got this Lich's phylactery, and I can actually talk to him through it. He's been, I think it was the Order of the Gauntlet, maybe, that had imprisoned him within his phylactery, kind of contained him in it, and if certain conditions are met, he can escape. And related to one of the larger quests in a section called Cloak Tower, I can do this quest to deal with him, and one of them has brought me to get this Shard of Night that'll eventually lead to working with him and figuring something out that's going on wrong in this section of Neverwinter. I might talk about that at some point, because this this campaign, let's see, where's my campaign here? Cloaked Ascendancy is a kind of neat campaign that is really takes the 4th edition Neverwinter piece and moves it forward. But let's get going.
Mortal, why do you seek to enter Evernight?
Pretty good.
From Zarafrax, is that old Rattlebone still around? The Shard of Night? Then you are a fool. The Netherese permit no entry from those not born on the Shadowfell. The spirits of the dead.
So one of the
will
nice things about
consume
this is
your
it ties
soul
into
if
the
you try.
Netherese, who
Still,
are
you
a
may
really
find the
neat
answers you
aspect of the
seek
Forgotten Realms.
amongst these
The
unhallowed
mages of
streets.
Netheril come from another
Very
world, and
well,
they end up
mortal.
in the Forgotten Realms,
You
and
may
then
enter
they have
Evernight,
to deal
but you
with
must
these
speak with the
Pharaohs that are
Tribunal
defeating
to
them, and so a
gain
bunch of
their
them flee
protection.
to the Shadowfell,
I
become the
will be there to
Shadowvar.
present your
They
petition
come back and want to sort of
when you
turn the
are
whole
ready.
world to shadow, if not destroy it through Shar, the goddess. It is, they're very good foes to have, very dangerous foes.
Our
Think big and
help you
long,
save
and have
Evernight
super
when I ran
powerful magical
afoul of the
abilities and
Tribunal.
Shadowfell abilities.
I owe
So
you
you often
that.
encounter them in these types of quests. Overall, the presence of Shar and the Netherese is not so huge in the MMO, except through these kinds of quests. Of course, we'll have our typical thing where we're going to meet some things to beat up, but looks like not. Oh yeah, this is kind of neat. I get to petition the Tribunal here.
Why does a mortal approach the Tribunal of Evernight?
The mortal seeks counsel on how to access the Shard of Night.
And what tribute have you brought for us? A talisman of Orcus, a worthy gift.
So this is something I got in an earlier quest, and I present to them.
I can wait no longer. Your soul is mine, mortal.
This is forbidden, Lich. Our protection has been granted.
No, I must have soul.
Handsome Lich. The Netherese will not grant you entry to the Shard of Night. However, Miros at the Thayan Enclave may have what you need. Leave Zeraphrax's phylactery with us. Now be gone, mortal.
There's a nice section to the end of the Neverwinter book, 4e book, is all about Evernight, and it's got, looks like 21 pages worth of material, which is a fair amount. So there is really a lot of detail and a lot of lore to Evernight, which makes it quite fun. It's like everybody stole my friend. Can't keep expecting them to become bad and beat me up. But they are not. It's been permitted things until I mess it all up. Then they're gonna go crazy on me. So let's deal with the Red Wizards of Thay.
The Shard of Night? It is a Netherese stronghold in the Shadowfell. Do you know they use it to spy on Neverwinter?
That sounds bad.
No matter. It is a fortress. If you were to assail it from the Shadowfell, further along the path is the Shadovar embassy. Keros is the current Shadovar ambassador.
There's a lot of gray in
Bring me
this
her essence.
campaign
Use it to make
periodically
you
in the MMO where you
Do not worry.
don't really get to be a hero. You just, it's like, okay, you want me to murder a Shadovar person for you? I guess I'll have to. So you lose a little bit of that free will. So here we are with the Shadovar ambassador we're talking about. I am higher level than they expect me to be for this quest, probably. Yeah. Still taking a lot of that, but it looks like I succeeded. Oh yeah, now they're all angry at me. Nothing like taking out the Shadovar ambassador to get everybody mad at you. I like the Shadovar as foes in this game. The game always takes from the 4th edition School of Thought, and so they have some pretty neat powers that they all do. Big sweeping blows that these, what are they called? Septs do, and they can push you back. The soldiers do pretty normal things, but then we have the witches that show up, and the witches can cast these globes of black darkness that just consumes everything around it, and it sort of stuns you until it passes by. It's pretty cool.
Yes, this will suffice for the ritual. The key of night.
Yep, I broke the pact with the Tribunal, and now I have to quiet everybody as I escape Evernight.
And then use the key to open a portal to the Shard of Night. Be warned, by attacking a citizen of Evernight, you have broken your pact with the Tribunal.
In the 4th edition book, there's a lot of interesting discussion of what this city is like. One of the things it does is you have just tons and tons of undead that live in this area. And they really are not just... you can actually have drinks at that place, which is kind of fun. Not only are they... there's tons of these undead here, but all of the hierarchy is built around how these undead work, and the Shadovar, and their goals. So there is a lot of intrigue and a lot of interesting angles to the Shadowfell, and particularly Evernight. So if you ever want to run a campaign that goes into the Shadowfell and you want to have some interesting, like how do I create the dark version of a place, this is an excellent resource to look at the 4th edition handbook, because it really tells you how you can take a city and turn it into a dark reflection of itself. It's really well done. Stunned by the ghast, but I unstunned myself. Alright, we're gonna escape with our lives. Yay. And leave Evernight. Now we go back to the gloomy but relatively much nicer graveyard of Neverwinter. So that's a quick look at the Shadowfell for today. I have now, I think that might be the end of that quest. Let's see, it looks like I lost my phylactery because the mage has been taken out. So there is more to this quest that I will do to follow up on the area, but that was the immediate piece that takes me to the Shadowfell. So we'll stop here. If you folks have other questions in the future about the Shadowfell, or if you have other areas of Neverwinter you want me to cover, let me know on Twitter or on any of these in my blog. You can reach me through and send me messages. I'm glad to cover additional topics. I'm still thinking over what I might want to cover next. The Cloak Ascendancy could be interesting. It's something that is just hinted at in the 4th edition book, but hasn't fully been done. And I've also considered covering how Tyranny of Dragons is represented, because that's done pretty well. Both of those are hot on my list, so if you have preferences, let me know. Thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll see you in the future. Take care.